Alright, what's up YouTube? Welcome to the hangar. I'm Steve, call sign Pseudo Voodoo, and we're going to talk about building wings today. So, we're going to be building a wing, but we're also going to be talking about wings in general and building wings in general. We're going to do a build, but we're going to focus more on the general principles of building wings, and I'm going to try to teach you how to build wings, not just build the specific wing that we're building. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is I've talked to a lot of quad pilots. I run a quad meetup. I go to other meetups like the Philly Quad Squad. I run the Rotary meetup. And I've talked to a lot of quad pilots who are interested in flying wings. They've seen me fly my wings, and they say to me, I'd like to get started in wings, but I really don't know anything about wings or how to build wings. And I found there's a lot of little tips and tricks to building wings that are kind of scattered all over the place, and I'm going to try to bring all those together for you today. And, you know, we're just going to build some wings. So, even though we're building the TBRC Apex today, the principles I'm going to talk about are going to apply no matter what you're building. Like if you're building a spec wing, like the one behind me, that's a VAS spec wing. Great wing to start with. Maybe you're going to build an S800. I've got one of those up there on the wall too. And I've got one right here. This was actually my first wing. It's more glue than foam now, but great wing to start with. So if you're building one of those, that's fine. Maybe you're building a ready-made Recruit. Good wing to start with. Maybe you're building a Defiant 28. A small wing that uses quad parts. Maybe you're building an Apex like I'm building here today. Any of those wings or any other wing that you decide to start with, there are certain principles you need to understand. So we're going to be doing the build, and let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is take a look at some of the tools that you need to build a wing. Some of these probably tools you already have, some of them tools you might not have. So, first one is soldering iron. Every quad pilot's going to have a soldering iron pretty much, you know. It's my old Weller. Little soldering cleaner. You'll need some solder. You're going to need some cutters. I've got big cutters, little side cutters. You're going to need knives. So, I've got a snap blade. I've got two sizes, small one and a big one. These are very handy, but they don't last long. So, I pretty much use these for one build and then throw them away because they get dull. But I think each of these was $2. So, every time I build a plane, I just get new ones. I've also got an X-Acto and some fresh blades. So, blades get dull quickly when you're cutting laminate, when you're cutting foam. So, you keep some extras on hand. We're going to need some tape. Just some packing tape. This is going to be for hinges. We'll talk about that when we get there. We're going to need some hot glue. Everybody's got hot glue. We're going to need some glue. Speaking of glue, there's a couple of different kinds of glue you can use. You can use Gorilla Glue. I don't really like Gorilla Glue, but you can use it. You can use CA, I guess. I like these kind of glues, the E6000. I also have Goop. These are just my preferred kind of glues. I like Welders. Welders is a good glue. Yoo-Hoo, Pour is fine. Any of those, but I mean, if you can get these, you can get these pretty much anywhere here in America. Hardware store, Walmart, they all have these. And one important thing with the glue that you also need is one of these tips. Because you're going to have to cut slits in foam and put that glue in there. And it's important to have one of these pointy little tips for your glue. If you get glue with a big opening like this, you're just going to have to find some way to funnel that down. Alright, I got some pins. Not really necessary, but they certainly do make your life easier. And I've got two kinds. I've got T-pins, which are good for holding things together while they're gluing. And I've got these regular, see if I can get one without stabbing myself, these regular dress pins, which are good for, well, We're going to use them for something later, but they also just hold things together. So, not really necessary, but handy to have. Make your life a little easier. You're going to need some way to mark things. So a pencil or a marker. But one word of warning with a marker, if the kit you're working on is white EPP foam and you use a black Sharpie like this, you will see that even if you try to paint over it, you will never get rid of those marks. So just be aware of that. You may want to use a pencil on white EPP foam, or get some less noticeable color than black. I'm working on black foam, so I don't think it's going to make a difference. We also need some sandpaper. This is just 100 grit. I think it's 100 grit. Yeah, 100 grit, sandpaper, a little bit of that. We're going to need some kind of straight edge. Actually, probably want one longer than this. This is a square, it's just straight edge, but I've got a longer ruler around here somewhere. I just don't have it in hand. So, another thing I need, straight edge. And one other tool, although this is not a complete list by any means. I'm sure I'm going to run into something later that I totally forgot to put on this list, but this is a tool that trips a lot of new wing builders up. They get nervous about it, and it's really nothing to be afraid of. It's a covering iron. This is a Hanger 9 covering iron that's cheap, less than $20. When you laminate your wing, and I highly recommend you do laminate your wing, you're going to need one of these. So if you don't have one, you can't get one, see if you can borrow one. If you're a member of an AMA club, somebody there who builds balsa will have one of these. If you find another wing pilot, they always have one of these. See if you can borrow it for the day, or just buy one. Like I said, they're pretty cheap. And if you build one wing, you're going to build more than one. They're like quads; they multiply. So, covering iron. Alright, so I think that's all the tools we're going to need. Like I said, I'm sure I forgot something, but give me a second to clear all this away and we'll take a look at the kit. Alright, nice clean workspace. So, let's take a look at our kit here. This is the TBRC Apex. The kit comes with wings, of course, in the center section. We've got spars. These are different than the spars that come in a lot of kits. A lot of kits, you'll get the round spars. These are flat. I don't know if you can see that. My camera's not very good. These are flat carbon spars, which I haven't used before, but we'll give it a shot. The kit also came with control horns, a couple other pieces. Came with chloroplast winglets. Came with this piece for a lid there. Came with laminate. And anything else that's cleaning this kit up. Our Elevons. They're going to be our control surfaces. Came with these little foam wings. These little foam things, but we're not actually going to use these because I have 3D printed some cooler ones. So I'm actually going to use these ones that I 3D printed. Came with a balsa motor mount. I don't think we're going to use this either because I 3D printed one of those too. I made this one up, so I think we're going to use that. Not necessary, but if you have a 3D printer, it's nice. Where's my other little thing? And it came with stickers, of course. There's another sticker. And it came with there's some more motor mount parts and these control horns. Now, when I ordered this kit, I actually thought it didn't just come with these control horns. You can see them right there. But it was actually going to come with control rods and linkages too. So let that be a lesson to you. Check the contents of your kit and make sure it comes with what you think it comes with. After I got the kit, I went back and checked TBRC's website and found out that no, this is exactly what I was supposed to get. So you're also going to need control rods and linkages. Now I happen to have those here in the shop, so I threw them in the box. I've got a piece of 256 threaded rod we're going to use for control rods. And I've got some, find them in here. There, some real quick links. And while I was at it, I picked up some different control horns because I have some ones that I like that I usually use, so I'm actually going to be using these. They're just a little different than the ones that came with the kit. The ones that came with the kit are push through. These are screw on, and I just prefer these. But the ones that came with the kit are fine. I just like those better. It's just one of those things from building enough wings, you kind of get preferences. Alright, let's take a look at some of the other parts. Now, this is a small wing. It's going to be, in fact, let me just throw it together for you here. You'll see. It's only 28 inches. This is going to go like this. So this is a very small wing. There you go. You can see that it's... Let's go move it that way. It's not very big. So this uses quadcopter parts, and that's one of the advantages for quad pilots of building this particular wing is you can use quad motors, quad propellers, quad batteries. We're going to run a 1300 4-cell. I also have a 1500 4-cell we're going to try. A 1300 3-cell, 1500 3. So we're going to try all those batteries. But the normal stuff that you already have. So speaking of parts, let's take a look at what we're going to put on this kit. So I've got a Emax. This is a 2306 2400 kV. We're going to run that motor. Now, ESCs. Can you use a quad ESC in a plane? Yes, you can. But there's a reason that you shouldn't, and I'll explain that right now. You're going to have to get 5-volt from somewhere. When you're building a plane, the servos, the receiver, they all require 5-volt. Now, you can put in a PDB if you want, but you're just adding complexity. You can put in a separate BEC to provide 5-volt, but again, it's worth it just to pay $15 and get yourself a plain ESC. This is a Turnigy Plush 30 amp. I want to say I paid $15 for it, and it has a built-in 3 amp BEC that will provide 5 volts for the servos and the power our receiver. And that's really all we need 5 volts for on this plane. It's be a very simple thing. So, can you use a quad ESC? You can, but I wouldn't. I don't suggest you do. I would just use one of these. I mean, they're cheap and they just make your life so much easier. So what else we got? We got a run cam. We're gonna put a Swift Mini 2 in this build, and that will give us OSD for voltage as well as our picture. So good thing there. I like those. We've got a AKK switchable VTX 25, 200, 600 milliwatt 40 channel. Cheap. I want to say less than $20, but they work really well. I've used these in a lot of builds, and they're really well. They work really good. In addition to being very small, which is good for our purposes here, because we're building a very small wing, little tiny light thing. So that's the VTX we're going to be using. You can use any VTX, any camera. If you have a camera and a VTX, just use them. It's fine. Alright, and we've got some odds and ends in here. That's a LC filter, just to keep our video clean. We've got some bullet connectors. As quad guys, you're not used to using bullet connectors. But on planes, they really are helpful. I'll explain later when we're wiring this up why you want to use bullet connectors and not just direct solder your motor to your ESC. Not that you can't. You certainly can if that's your preference. But there's a reason plane guys use bullet connectors, and we'll talk about that later during the build. I've got an antenna. This is something I'm excited about. I really like these. This is a Lumineer AX2 stubby. Look at this. These things work great, and they're tiny. I've got them on my Hardcore 44 over there. Man, the thing works so good for its size. It's absolutely unbelievable. There it is. Look at that antenna. Little tiny thing, and it's going to work great. Now, our antenna here is SMA, and our VTX is RPSMA. So we've got to do something about that. And I got these. They're 90-degree SMA to RPSMA connectors. Gotta love Amazon. Anything else? We've got XT. I had to grab some XT60s. I was running low, so we've got XT60s. And we've got props now. Props I'm going to be using are 50/50 Cyclones. 2 blades. Can you run a 3-blade prop? Yes, you can. But there's probably a reason you don't want to. And that's because when you land a wing, if you have a 3-blade prop on a wing, when it comes down, that prop is going to catch something because it will never lie flat. Where a 2-blade prop will just sink in right behind the wing, just like this. You know, let me see if I can grab the wing and explain it to you. A 2-blade prop, when you land, even if the prop is off like that, when you hit the ground, it's just going to go like flat like that and not catch anything. Where a 3-blade prop, you will always have 2 blades pointing down that will catch the ground and bend that prop up. So I just like the 2-blade props on my wings. That's just me. If you want to run a 3-blade prop, you can. Just know that you're going to catch the ground every time, and eventually you're going to wear that prop out. I just like them. So I have 3-blade props. Maybe we'll try them, but probably we're going to use 2 blades. All right. So that's everything that's in our kit. So I guess it's time to start building. I'm probably going to end this video here and start a separate video for the build process. So I'll see you in a minute. We'll get all this stuff cleared off the desk and we'll start gluing the wings together.